You thought the denial letter was the end. You spent years serving, you came home broken, and you filed the paperwork, only to be hit with that cold bureaucratic punch. Denied. That rejection isn't just a setback, it's the initiation into a harsh reality that only veterans who have faced the VA's brick wall truly understand. They tell you the process is straightforward, but it's rigged with hidden rules, unspoken expectations, and secrets that the VA hopes you never uncover. If you've been denied, you're now in the elite group that knows the truth. The VA benefit system is not about proving you were injured. It's about proving your case legally. We are diving deep into the trenches today, revealing the 10 most critical secrets that separate the approved claims from the pile of denials. This isn't just information, it's the playbook for turning your denial into an approval. Get ready, because what you are about to learn changes everything about how you approach your claim forever. The first, and arguably the most devastating secret veterans learn after a denial, is that the true meaning of the Nexus letter is legal, not medical. Most veterans think a Nexus letter is just a doctor agreeing that their injury came from service. They hire a physician, pay a fee, get the letter, submit it, and expect the check. When the denial hits, they are baffled. They had the medical opinion. What went wrong? The secret is this. The VA rater, the person making the decision, is not looking for a general medical agreement. They are looking for a specific legal argument framed in regulatory language that satisfies the 3 required elements of service connection. If your Nexus letter simply states, "Yes, I believe this injury is related to service," it is functionally worthless. It lacks the persuasive power and the specific language the VA requires to legally connect the dots. The rater needs to be able to quote your doctor's letter directly into the decision rationale, using phrases like, "at least as likely as not." If your doctor uses weak language like "maybe related" or "possibly due to service," the rater is legally obligated to disregard it as speculative. This is the difference between an opinion and evidence. A proper Nexus letter must explicitly address the negative findings of the VA, if applicable, and must demonstrate a thorough review of your service treatment records, STRs, and your C file. It must be an evidence-based rebuttal, not just a casual agreement. Think of it less as a medical note and more as expert testimony in a court case. It needs to cite specific medical literature, reference objective findings, and establish the clear, unbroken chain of causation. If the Nexus letter fails to analyze the specific mechanism of injury, for example, how that specific exposure led to that specific diagnosis, it leaves room for reasonable doubt, and reasonable doubt always favors the VA, leading to denial. The true power of the Nexus letter, the one that guarantees success, lies in its ability to preemptively answer every possible objection the VA might raise. It must be ironclad, leaving zero ambiguity about the link between the in-service event and the current disability. Veterans who are denied often find their medical evidence dismissed because it failed to meet this hidden legal standard of proof. They learn that paying for a doctor's signature is not enough. You must pay for a legal, evidence-based opinion that speaks the VA's regulatory language. This distinction is the bedrock upon which all successful appeals are built. You must demand specificity, you must demand references, you must ensure the doctor understands they are writing a legal document, not just a clinical assessment. If they don't explicitly state the relationship is at least as likely as not, they have failed to provide the necessary legal threshold, and your claim will crash. This level of detail, this understanding of the legal burden, is the first devastating secret veterans only learn after their initial heartbreaking denial. Moving immediately from the evidence to the examiner, the second crucial secret is that the C&P examiner's unspoken agenda is fact-finding for the VA, not advocacy for you. When you walk into that compensation and pension C&P exam, you're often nervous, hopeful, and perhaps a bit vulnerable. You think this doctor or nurse is there to confirm your suffering and help you get the benefits you deserve. This is the biggest lie the system perpetrates. The C&P examiner is not your treating physician. They are a contractor or employee hired by the VA to perform a specific function, to gather objective facts and render an opinion, chat to the VA. Their loyalty, their contractual obligation, is to the VA, not to the veteran. They are specifically trained to look for inconsistencies, to measure the objective severity of your condition on that specific day, and to fill out the Disability Benefits Questionnaire, DBQ, in a way that provides the rater with the necessary data points. They are explicitly not there to treat you, offer advice, or advocate for your claim. Veterans who are denied often recount C&P exams that felt rushed, dismissive, or incomplete. They realize too late that they treated the exam like a standard doctor's visit, focusing on their general health when they should have been focusing solely on documenting the functional limitations caused by the service-connected disability. The unspoken agenda means the examiner might intentionally ask questions designed to elicit non-service-related causes. They might focus heavily on pre-service or post-service events, subtly trying to break the nexus chain. They are looking for reasons not to connect the condition to service or reasons to rate the severity lower. A veteran who has been denied learns that they must go into the C&P exam prepared to be their own advocate, knowing exactly what the DBQ requires for their specific condition and ensuring the examiner notes every single limiting factor. If you fail to mention that your back pain prevents you from lifting more than 10 pounds, that limitation will not appear in the report, and the rater cannot legally consider it. The rater only sees the paper, and the examiner controls what goes onto that paper. Furthermore, veterans learn that the examiner's opinion, even if negative, is not the final word. If the examiner's opinion is based on flawed facts, incomplete records, or a failure to review the entire C-file, it is legally vulnerable. The secret here is understanding that the exam is a high-stakes interrogation disguised as a medical appointment. You must control the narrative, provide concise, objective descriptions of your worst days, and ensure the examiner documents the severity of your pain and limitations accurately. If you are denied, the first place you look is the C&P report, searching for the factual errors or the biased language that sealed your fate. This adversarial nature of the C&P exam is a secret the VA keeps well hidden, and it costs thousands of veterans their benefits every single year. This leads us directly to the third, often ignored, secret. The power of the lay statement transforms personal testimony into medical evidence. Many veterans, especially those dealing with mental health claims or chronic pain, receive denials because the VA claims there is insufficient medical evidence. They think, but I told them how bad it was. The secret is that your own words and the words of those who know you best are not just anecdotal stories. They are legally recognized forms of evidence, especially when medical records are sparse or the injury happened decades ago. The VA is required by law to consider lay evidence, provided it is credible and competent. Competence means the statement addresses something the layperson is capable of observing, like how often you miss work, or how frequently you experience panic attacks, or the change in your gait after an injury. Credibility means the statement is consistent with other evidence. Veterans who are denied often submitted vague, emotional statements like, "My back hurts all the time." This is ineffective. The secret to a successful lay statement is turning emotion into objective data points. For example, since 2018, I have been unable to stand for more than 15 minutes without severe radiating pain, forcing me to sit down 5 to 10 times per day, which my wife can confirm. This provides measurable facts and corroboration. The power of the buddy statement or lay evidence from a spouse or friend is immense. These statements can fill in the gaps in your service treatment records, STRs, where the military doctor failed to document an injury, or they can describe the in-service event itself, which is often the missing link in a denial. If a veteran was exposed to a toxic environment, but the STRs don't mention it, a buddy statement from someone who was there, detailing the exposure, becomes crucial primary evidence. The VA rater, when faced with a lack of medical documentation, must look to lay evidence to establish the continuity of symptoms. If you were denied, it is highly likely you failed to provide enough detailed, consistent lay evidence to bridge the gap between service and diagnosis. The denied veteran learns that they must treat their personal testimony as a critical piece of the evidentiary puzzle, demanding the same level of detail and corroboration as a medical report. They learn that a denial based on lack of nexus can often be overturned simply by providing detailed statements from 2 or 3 people describing the severity and continuity of symptoms since discharge. This is the difference between a heartfelt plea and a legally defensible piece of evidence. The denied veteran understands that the C-file must be saturated with these detailed statements to overwhelm the VA's tendency to dismiss personal testimony as subjective. Our journey through denial reveals the 4th, deeply technical secret. The game of effective dates means timing your claim matters more than the injury date. When a veteran is finally approved, they often assume their benefits will start from the date they were injured or the date they separated. The denial teaches them a painful truth. The effective date, the date from which back pay is calculated, is a complex, regulatory construct that can cost them tens of thousands of dollars. The secret here revolves around the concept of the intent to file and the 1-year rule. If you file a claim and it is denied, and you wait more than 1 year to appeal or submit a supplemental claim, you lose the effective date of the original claim. A veteran who is denied learns quickly that they must maintain an open claim status. This means filing an intent to file, ITF, immediately, which protects the effective date for 1 full year, allowing them time to gather the crucial evidence, like that ironclad nexus letter, without losing out on back pay. If the VA denies your claim, the clock immediately starts ticking. You have 1 year to submit an appeal, higher-level review, supplemental claim, or notice of disagreement to the BVA to maintain the original effective date. If you miss that deadline and you have to file a new claim, your effective date shifts to the date of the new filing, erasing years of potential back pay. This is the ultimate bureaucratic trap. Denied veterans learn that the VA system is designed to reward timeliness and penalize delay. They learn to treat the denial letter not as a defeat, but as a time-sensitive instruction manual for appeal. They understand that a successful appeal, even one filed years later, can reach back to the original intent to file date, but only if the procedural continuity was maintained. Furthermore, the secret extends to conditions that worsen over time. If you were rated 10% for a condition 10 years ago and you are now 50%, the effective date for the increase in benefits starts the day the VA received the evidence showing the worsening condition, not the day it actually worsened. This forces the denied veteran to constantly monitor their conditions and file for increases promptly, using the ITF to lock in the earliest possible date. The game of effective dates is pure administrative law, and those who ignore the deadlines pay a devastating financial price. The 5th and perhaps most empowering secret a denied veteran discovers is that the denial letter is a map, not a verdict. It's the rationale for reversal. Most veterans receive the denial letter, feel defeated, and toss it aside. The veteran who succeeds after denial treats that letter like a classified military document. The denial letter is not just saying no, it is legally required to tell you why it is saying no, and more importantly, what evidence was missing or unpersuasive. This is the map to your approval. The secret lies in reading the rationale for decision, often found deep within the accompanying documentation. The VA rater is required to specifically address the 3 required elements of service connection. 1. A current diagnosis. 2. An in-service event or injury. And 3. The nexus, link between the two. If the denial states, "We acknowledge the diagnosis, but there is no evidence of the in-service event," the map tells you exactly what to focus on, finding buddy statements or historical records. If the denial states, "We acknowledge the diagnosis and the in-service event, but the C&P examiner provided a negative nexus opinion," the map tells you to immediately seek an independent medical opinion, IMO, to rebut the C&P examiner. The denial letter is essentially a checklist of the VA's internal weaknesses in your claim. It reveals the exact point of failure. Denied veterans learn that success is not about submitting more evidence haphazardly. It is about submitting the specific, targeted evidence required to overturn the stated reason for denial. If the VA denies based on lack of nexus, submitting more lay statements about pain is useless. You must submit a strong nexus letter. If the VA denies based on a low severity rating, submitting more medical history is useless. You must submit new medical evidence detailing the functional limitations and current severity. The denial letter eliminates the guesswork. It tells you exactly what the rater needs to see to change their mind. This shifts the veteran's mindset from passive applicant to active strategist. They realize the VA has done half the work for them by identifying the deficiency, and the only remaining task is to plug that specific hole with overwhelming, targeted evidence. Never ignore the denial rationale. It is the blueprint for victory. The 6th secret, often the key to unlocking benefits for complex or chronic conditions, is the magic of secondary conditions, using service connection to connect unrelated issues. Many veterans suffer from issues that appear entirely unrelated to their military service, perhaps chronic insomnia, erectile dysfunction, or severe headaches, and they assume these cannot be claimed. The denial of their primary claim forces them to dig deeper and discover the power of secondary service connection. The secret is that if a service-connected disability causes or aggravates a currently non-service-connected disability, the secondary condition can be rated as if it were directly caused by service. This is the mechanism by which 10% or 20% ratings balloon into 70% or 100% ratings. For example, a veteran is service-connected for a knee injury, 10%. Because of the chronic pain and limited mobility in the knee, they develop severe depression and anxiety, secondary to pain. Or the medication they take for their PTSD, primary, causes severe gastrointestinal issues, secondary to treatment. The denied veteran learns that they must meticulously review their entire health profile and look for these causal relationships. They understand that the VA is not going to do this linking for them. They must explicitly claim the secondary condition and provide a medical nexus linking the primary condition to the secondary one. This often requires another specialized nexus letter, specifically stating that the service-connected condition proximately caused or aggravated the secondary condition beyond its natural progression. If you were denied, it is likely you overlooked this powerful strategy. You focused only on the direct injuries, missing the cascade of health issues that followed. The successful veteran realizes that if they can prove their depression is secondary to their chronic back pain, which is service-connected, they have effectively established service connection for the mental health issue, circumventing the often difficult requirement of proving a specific in-service stressor. This is the ultimate hack in the VA system, turning seemingly unconnected health issues into compensable disabilities. As we continue to dissect the denial, the 7th secret emerges, dealing with administrative failure. Understanding the duty to assist failure, when the VA drops the ball, and how to prove it. The VA operates under a legal obligation known as the duty to assist, DTA. This means the VA is required to help the veteran gather necessary evidence, including obtaining STRs, private medical records, if authorized, and scheduling CNP exams. When a claim is denied, the veteran often discovers that the VA failed this duty, and this failure becomes a powerful argument for appeal. The secret here is identifying specific actionable DTA failures. For example, the denial letter might state, "We were unable to locate your service treatment records." But if the veteran provided the VA with the correct dates of service and locations, the VA failed its duty to search adequately. Or the VA might have failed to obtain relevant records from a private doctor the veteran identified. Denied veterans learn that they must scrutinize the VA's efforts in evidence gathering. If the VA failed to retrieve critical documents that would have supported the claim, the denial is legally flawed. The veteran can appeal, arguing that the VA committed a DTA error, forcing the VA to reopen the claim and conduct the necessary evidence gathering. This is especially potent in higher-level reviews, HLR, where the reviewer is specifically looking for errors in the initial process. The successful veteran, after denial, learns to meticulously document every interaction and every piece of information provided to the VA. They realize that if the VA claims they didn't have the records, but the veteran can prove they signed the release form on a specific date, the error is on the VA. This secret empowers the veteran to challenge the process itself, not just the outcome. It transforms the veteran from a passive recipient of the VA's actions into an auditor of the VA's legal compliance. A DTA failure is a procedural error that almost always guarantees the claim will be reconsidered, often leading to approval simply because the missing evidence is finally included. The eighth secret exposes a critical flaw in the veteran's initial approach. The high-value versus low-value claim myth, focusing on severity, not diagnosis. Many veterans file claims based on what they think the VA will approve easily, or they focus entirely on the diagnosis itself. I have PTSD, or I have a bad back. The subsequent denial reveals that the VA doesn't rate the diagnosis. They rate the severity and the functional impairment caused by the disability. The secret is that there is no such thing as a high-value or low-value diagnosis. There are only claims documented with high levels of functional impairment. A veteran with a 10% rating for a serious condition often receives that low rating because they failed to accurately convey the full extent of their daily limitations. They might tell the CNP examiner, "I'm doing okay," when in reality they can barely get out of bed 3 days a week. The denial forces the veteran to shift their focus entirely from the what, the diagnosis, to the how, the impact on their life, work, and social functioning. To overcome a denial, the veteran must translate their pain and limitations into the specific regulatory language found in the VA's Schedule for Rating Disabilities, 38 CFR Part 4. For mental health, this means detailing occupational and social impairment, such as inability to maintain employment or frequent panic attacks. For orthopedic issues, this means measuring range of motion and documenting pain upon movement. A successful veteran learns to quantify their suffering. Instead of saying, "My knee hurts," they say, "My knee has a limited range of motion, flexing only to 90 degrees, and the pain is severe enough to require me to stop and rest every 30 minutes, preventing me from holding a job that requires prolonged standing." The denial teaches the veteran that they must become fluent in the language of functional limitation. The goal is not just to get the condition service connected. The goal is to provide overwhelming evidence that places the condition into the highest possible severity bracket, ensuring maximum compensation. This shift in focus from diagnosis to functional limitation is a hallmark of successful post-denial claims. The ninth secret is a microscopic view of the process, often only discovered by veterans who meticulously review their C-file. The importance of administrative error, finding the small mistakes that overturn large denials. The VA system is massive, complex, and run by human beings. Where there are human beings and complex rules, there are errors. The denied veteran learns that administrative mistakes, even seemingly minor ones, can be grounds for reversal. The secret lies in obtaining the full C file, claims file, and cross-referencing every document against the denial rationale. Did the rater correctly identify the date of your separation? Did they miscalculate the time limit for your appeal? Did they accidentally overlook a key piece of evidence that was clearly marked in the file? For example, a rater might state that a nexus letter was not submitted, when in fact the tracking number shows it was uploaded 2 months prior. This is a clear administrative error. Another common error is stale evidence, the rater relying on a C&P exam from 5 years ago when the veteran submitted current medical evidence just 3 months prior. The rater failed to consider the most recent, relevant evidence. The denied veteran learns to become an obsessive auditor of the VA's file management. They understand that proving the VA made a procedural mistake is often easier than proving the medical link itself. If the VA failed to consider all the evidence of record, the decision is legally flawed and must be vacated. This strategy is particularly effective in the higher-level review, HLR appeal track, where the reviewer is specifically tasked with looking for errors committed by the original rater. The successful veteran knows that sometimes the fight isn't about the injury, it's about the paperwork. Finding and documenting these small administrative errors can instantly turn a devastating denial into a mandated approval. Finally, the 10th and most critical secret for the denied veteran is the hidden path, HLR, supplemental, or BVA, choosing the right appeal track. After a denial, the veteran faces 3 primary choices, and choosing the wrong one can delay benefits for years. The secret is that each appeal track, higher-level review, HLR, supplemental claim, and notice of disagreement, leading to the Board of Veterans' Appeals, or BVA, serves a completely different strategic purpose, and the denial letter dictates which path is correct. If the denial states that the VA simply failed to consider evidence that was already in the file, or if the rater made a clear administrative or legal error, like ignoring a DTA failure, the correct path is the higher-level review, HLR. This path involves no new evidence. It is a review of the existing file by a senior rater, looking only for error. It is fast and efficient for procedural mistakes. If the denial states that the claim failed due to lack of evidence, e.g., missing nexus letter, weak lay statements, insufficient severity documentation, the correct path is the supplemental claim. This path requires the submission of new and relevant evidence, the evidence you gathered after reading the denial map. This is the most common and often the most successful route after an initial denial, provided the new evidence directly addresses the deficiency. If the denial is based on a fundamental disagreement over medical facts or interpretation of regulations, and the veteran has already exhausted the HLR and supplemental claim options, the path is the Board of Veterans' Appeals, BVA. This is the longest, most formal path, often involving a hearing with a veteran's law judge. The denied veteran learns that they must analyze the reason for denial and match it precisely to the appropriate appeal lane. Choosing HLR when new evidence is needed is a waste of time. Choosing a supplemental claim when the rater simply overlooked a document is also inefficient. The truly successful veteran understands that the appeal process is a funnel, and matching the denial reason to the correct appeal track is the final essential secret to overturning the VA's rejection and finally securing the compensation they earned. These 10 secrets, the legal nature of the nexus, the adversarial role of the C&P examiner, the power of detailed lay evidence, the urgency of effective dates, the denial letter as a strategic map, the utility of secondary connections, the leverage of DTA failures, the focus on functional impairment, the hunt for administrative errors, and the choice of the correct appeal track are the harsh lessons that only veterans who have been denied ever truly master. You were denied because you played by the VA's stated rules, not their hidden ones. But now you know the truth. You have the knowledge to transform your denial into a detailed, targeted, and successful appeal. The system tried to send you away, but the veterans who succeed are the ones who refuse to take no for an answer. Go back to your denial letter, apply these 10 secrets, and build the claim that cannot be denied. Your fight is not over. It has just begun, and now you are finally equipped to win.